All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my live stream. In this live stream, I think this is going to be a really special live stream, at least to me. Hopefully, to some of you old schoolers out there. Hopefully, somebody that can appreciate back what gaming used to be when it all started out, home computers, home gaming, and stuff like that back in the 1980s when I was a kid. So, I know this is a video that's probably not going to get a whole lot of reception or even positive reception. But I'm looking here at some of the magazines that I used to absolutely live for as a kid. And that was Compute Magazine and Compute Gazette magazine. Because I loved my Commodore 64. And remember, back in the 1980s, when we had those home computers, we had no way to connect online. There was no even dial-up. Everything you got, you either had to buy in a cartridge as far as a game for your computer, or if you was lucky enough to have like a Commodore 64 or something you could actually input commands on, like with a keyboard, then you had a home computer, which was rare. I mean, most people had like the Atari 2600, just a gaming console with those cartridges and the joysticks. But with a Commodore 64, you could actually, type in your own games out of the magazines, and the magazines were great too because they had a lot of information about the computers and tricks on how to program them and reviews of games and peripherals and everything else. So these were, what I lived for every single month, and I subscribed to Compute Magazine and Compute Gazette. And if I didn't have a subscription, I would go to the grocery store. Like every time my mom went to the grocery store about the time of the month that I knew these magazines would come out on the shelves, I would go to the store with her and say, "Mom, can I have this magazine, please?" But that was I guess I was quite the nerd when I was like 12, 13, 14 years old. But these magazines were awesome to me. And, I'd go and read these magazines and I'd be excited for whatever, 2 or 3, 4 games might be in a magazine and type them in out of code in the back. And so, like, if we look at some of the code that you had to type into the machines, the home computers, we'll take a look at it if it'll ever load here. Oh, these are just no, this is a magazine. Let's see. But the kind of code you'd have to type in, it was so much code just for one little game. It was really, really crazy. But like, this is the kind of code you're talking about. Type it in, line 30, if peak, blah, 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 equals DE, parentheses, underscore, all this stuff. And they always ran everything together without any spaces because that saved memory. Now, remember, the Commodore 64 only had 64K of memory. You compare that to like a 1 megabyte, even a real small memory card today that has, 1 gigabyte. That's 1 billion pieces of information. The Commodore 64 only had 64K by comparison. So today I want to go ahead and talk about how you guys can get a Commodore 64 emulator that works pretty good, and how you can play some of the old games, some of my favorite games that I still remember today, that I remember playing on my Commodore 64. I'm going to show you how these games play, why they're still fun today. And again, you can grab these for free on your computer, and I'm going to show you how and where to download these games. In fact, it's all right down in the description below the video. You can download the emulator, and you can go and download these ROMs, or these real small files that have the data already typed in. So unlike me when I was a kid, you don't have to spend hours typing in these games to play them. So what we're going to do here, guys, is I want to go ahead and show you guys. If we go to Google, and if you simply type in here Commodore 64 emulator, you'll come up with the first one is the one I've linked down below, Vice. And if you click the link down below, you're going to come up to a screen like this. So all you'll want to do is come here to the download section if you click the link below for the emulator. And all you want to do is just under MS Windows, you want to go ahead and download whichever one applies to you, whether you have, if you have a Linux or some other system. But for whatever version of Windows, whether you have 32 or 64-bit Windows, you want to go ahead and grab the right one. And So for me, what I did is I grabbed the 64-bit binary for Windows and just click that link. And so that'll download a real small file. It should take a couple of seconds, and you can download Vice Emulator. So once you got the emulator, I'm going to show you exactly what to do on your computer. So you've got that downloaded, and you're simply going to go to your computer at this point. And once you double click on your computer, you may have to find your computer down in your Windows after here, and it's going to be right here. This is at least on Windows 7. So then you're going to go into your, you just downloads. On the left-hand side, you want to go into downloads, okay? If you can't find it, just click on recent places and then go to downloads. So once you go to downloads, let me go ahead and delete these just so you guys can see exactly what we're doing here. Let's see, Vice, right there, delete. Give me just a second. I just want to make this exactly like you guys will see it. All right, so once you click on downloads, depending on how many downloads you have, you may have more or less than I do, but you're going to simply go down all the way to W and find WinVice. That'll be the file you've downloaded. Now, if you don't have a program like WinZip or WinRAR, you may need to download that so you can unpack it. But once you have a program like WinRAR included or downloaded, you can actually just double click these. And it's going to open up like this. It's going to look something like this, at least with WinRAR. You're going to want to go ahead and extract this file. So you're going to go ahead and extract to. And I just keep it in the downloads folder. You could, of course, make a new folder, extract it wherever you wanted. But I'm just going to go ahead and keep it right here in the downloads that it goes to by default. And click OK. This is real easy, people. So once you actually extract that, you're going to go back up to the top, and it'll be in your folders. It'll say WinVice in your folders. Double-click that. Double-click this folder here. And then you're just going to go ahead and come here to C x64. It's just your x64 executable file. Just go ahead and double-click that. Go ahead and accept it and hit run. There we go. Okay. So then you're going to get what I saw so many days as a kid. This is what the Commodore 64 screen looked like on your monitor or your TV or whatever you had your computer hooked up to. And from here, we can start inputting code if you want to. I mean, I can go ahead, and I remember how to make basic programs here. You can go ahead and type in line 10, print. Oops. Remember here that if you try to put a quote on your computer, it's going to put something like the J. And the reason for that is because the Commodore 64 was not made with the same kind of keyboard that we know today or that we're familiar with on computers. So if you go to Commodore 64 keyboard layout right here, and you look at the keyboard from the Commodore 64, you'll see that the quotes is right up there on the 2. So to get the quotes, for example, you need to hit Shift 2, and it'll bring up your quotes. So if I type print hello world, and I put a space after that, go ahead and close my quotes with Shift 2, and then I go to line 20, and I write go to, which makes the computer go back to line 10, you'll see that I've actually written a full working program on the Commodore 64 in BASIC. So now I just type run to run that program that's in memory. I hit enter, and the computer is endlessly printing out hello world. Hit escape to stop it. I think there was like a stop break command on the Commodore 64, but escape will work on this emulator. So now if you type the word list, that lists your program. Now, one cool thing about this is you can go up to the very end of your quotes, and I remember you can put like a comma after it. Make sure you hit enter, or it won't take. Go back down and type run, and notice how it was saying hello world just in one line here. Now watch it with a comma after it. Now we got like a 10 space spacing between hello world. And you can do it again. You can type list. And I don't remember all the different commands and how to program a Commodore 64. I just remember the really basic stuff. But now if we come here and we go backspace and we put a semicolon, semicolon, and we type run, it looks like that. You can hold tab down and slow it down. So, I mean, that was the basics of programming a Commodore 64. But we're going to go ahead and escape that. And what I want to do today is I want to go ahead and show you some of my favorite games, not that I bought, the games that I bought that I actually typed in out of magazines, Compute magazines or Compute Gazette magazines, which were by far the most popular Commodore 64 gaming magazines that, you know, were around all throughout the 80s. So, if you click down in my description below, you'll see that the first game that I have a download available for you for is a game called Laser Beam. Now, this game is really fun. I had a ton of fun with these games. I don't even know how many hours I played these games through the 1980s after I typed them in. But we're going to go ahead. First thing we need to do is we need to download it by clicking the link down below if you want to play it. And then, once you download it, you're going to come down and you're going to see a packed little file called Laser Beam, just like this. So again, we're just going to go ahead and double click that. We're going to extract it. I just extracted to the same folder, hit OK. And now, once we've extracted it, we can come back up to in our downloads folder. We can double click Laser Beam. We don't even need to do that. We just make sure it's Laser Beam. And you can see how many, it's only 171 kilobits in size for that program. So let's go ahead and come back here to our game here. Let me go ahead and bring up the background as well for the chat in case anybody's chatting so that can be easily seen. Okay. So before I actually launch Laser Beam, my first game of 4 games that I'm going to showcase tonight for the Commodore 64, is I am going to set up my joystick. Because you remember the Commodore 64 used like joysticks, just like an Atari 2600 did or whatever. It only had one button and a stick that you could move in 8 different directions. So I'm really only going to worry about games that were, you know, that you could move in 4 different directions and the button. So you're going to go to Settings here in Vice. You want to go to Joystick Settings. And then you're going to get a little window like this pop up. Now, 95% of all the games that I ever played for the Commodore 64, for whatever reason, I have no idea, they all ran on a joystick plugged into port number 2. It had 2 ports where you could plug in joysticks for like 2-player games. So we're only going to be playing single-player games tonight. 4 of my favorite that I remember that I typed in. And all you need to do is just go to joystick number 2. I would just go key set B, save key set A for joystick port number 1 in case you ever decide you want to download a 2-player game for whatever reason. We're going to go ahead and configure key set number B. So go ahead and click it. There it comes. It's coming. And all you need to do is program. I just programmed this like WASD, something I'm familiar with. You could do the arrows if you wanted to, or whatever. The one thing you can't do is you can't program like the fire button to your mouse button. You have to actually do it a keyboard button. From everything I know, I haven't played around with this emulator a whole lot. I just started playing with it earlier today. But let's go ahead and program south. And come on, emulator. There we go. Hit your key you want to be south. I'm going to go ahead and hit S, as in my WASD, and you'll see it's taken right there. West is actually going to be A, the A key. East is going to be your D key. And north will be your W key. And then the only other button I'm going to worry about here is the fire button. And for that, I'll just hit enter. You could do space or whatever button you wanted to, whatever worked for you. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Now I've got joystick number 4 programmed to my WASD for movement, basic forward directional movement, and I got enter being my fire button. So then we're going to just go ahead and hit OK. Let's go ahead and launch this laser beam now that we've unpacked. So here, just simply come to Auto Start, come to File, and it's Auto Start, the very first option, Auto Start Disk or Tape Image. So we're going to go ahead and click it. We're going to find it. And if it doesn't look like this, you're simply going to go to your Downloads folder or wherever you've unpacked your C64 ROM. Look in your laser beam folder, double click that file, and it'll automatically close the window for you, and it may take a couple of minutes to load it. Remember, this is a Commodore 64 emulator, and even when you typed in a game on the Commodore 64, there was usually some kind of load time for it to process all the information and set up all the arrays and everything else that the program was doing. So laser beam. Now again, this is a game that I probably spent, I don't even know, I'm guessing this is probably 4 to 5 hours of typing in nothing but numbers to get this game on your Commodore. So let's go ahead and make this window a little bit bigger. And this is a game I would really love to see an indie developer remake. I think somebody could, an indie developer could remake this game and sell it for like, $5 on Steam or whatever. And I would definitely be interested in a modern remake of this particular game. So if you're an indie developer out there, definitely check this game out. This is a unique game that I think could be made into a lot of fun, as a Steam game for the PC or whatever. So I would definitely buy it. So here it's going to default to like a mid-speed level, but you can go up and down with your whatever keys you set for your up and down. And 0 is going to be the slowest speed. Let's go ahead and start at the slowest speed and work our way up. And when you get it wherever you want, speed 0, we'll start at speed 0. We're going to go ahead and hit enter and start this little game. Okay, so this was how the game worked. And notice that pretty much all these games, none of these games that you ever typed in really had any kind of instructions or directions or tutorial or anything like that. That's because in the magazine, they talked about the game in the article. So they'd have an article to write about it, who programmed it, and what the object of the game was. And it would, a lot of times it would even go into how long it took them to program it and how it took advantage of the Commodore 64 in whatever ways. So you control at the start, you control this little dude. You have a timer running down there in the bottom left. Now, you control a laser beam, but to control the laser, you have to move your character, I believe, to the very top of this green bar. Okay, you don't want to get hit by any of those balls. How you doing, Nunya? So once you get to the top of this bar, you can use your left and right controls, moving your joystick left to right, or whatever you set up for your left and right direction, to rotate this laser gun around the screen. Now what you want to try to do is you want to try to hit whatever color ball is the same color as the border. So really fun game. I would love to see this game remade. So there I got to try to hit the red button. Just use your fire button, whatever you set up for that. And what you want to do is you want to try to only hit the red ball, because if you hit any other balls, it's going to turn whatever balls you hit with a laser white. And what you've got to try to do is get whatever colored ball is the same color as the border down to the basket in the bottom right. Now once you take up too much time, as you can see here, this green area fills up with acid. Once it hits you, it kills. So basically you're on a timer as well. So oops, you got to go up to the top, and then you can control your laser. Try to hit only the red ball. Okay, now you see I've turned it white. Now you want to go ahead and get out of there, because acid is coming as soon as you fire your laser. And I died right there because I touched a different colored ball. So I'm going to go ahead and go again for the red. Now keep in mind, this is the slowest speed, guys. Okay, so I got it white now. Not easy. So we're going to go ahead and try this again. Laser beam. And again, you guys can download, you could have this emulator in this game on your computer in basically under a minute, easy, installed and everything, if you guys want to play it yourself. Pretty fun. I really loved this game when I was a kid. Okay, so now I'm going to get over here. I'm going to try to avoid these balls. I'm going to try to grab the one I just shot. Remember, you can't shoot it. Oh, dang. You can't shoot it until... I got it in the basket. Anyway, I got 5 points for doing that. Now I got to try to shoot the light blue ball. Okay, I got it. Now I got to get the ball without getting touched by another ball. And the problem is if you shoot more than one ball, then you gotta like remember which ball was the correct color, or if you touch the wrong white ball, you're gonna die. There we go. So now I'm gonna go ahead and try, I'm getting a little better, try to shoot the purple one now. Try to get it kind of by itself. Yeah, I had so much fun with this game. And again, this was a game I typed in out of code, out of a computer magazine, probably back like in 1984 or 1983, I don't even know. Okay? But it's a lot of fun, even playing right here on this emulator. Right now, this game is fun. How you doing, Candace? So, let's go ahead and this is a game from like, what is 1980? I think it was made before 85, but even if it was 85, you're talking about a game that's 31 years old. And now, because I ran out of time, now they've all turned white. I was lucky enough to grab the right one. And went to deposit it in the basket. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to hit the blue one, because the border's blue. Grab this. 2 balls left. Notice my multiplier or whatever is definitely going up, because that first ball I deposited was only worth 5 points. Now, I'm up to 180 points. And this just goes to show you that graphics really don't mean a lot. This is simple sprites that we're talking about with this game, guys. Simple 2-dimensional sprites in the game, even today. Maybe part of it is just because I remember this game from a kid, but I'm telling you, I think this game is still super fun. And I'm going to show you some more games, you guys. And you guys can take a sneak peek at some of the downloads that I provided for you down in the description below. But there's 3 more games that I typed in that... Oops. Ah, I'm getting careless now. I got 2 balls turned white that I don't want white. I gotta have it, watch which one I shoot carefully now. Ah, come on. Okay. It is this one. Don't get touched by any other balls. Ah! Ah! It's kind of scary. Ooh! You gotta be kind of... Ooh! Oh, come on! At least I got the ball in the net, though. But, yeah, I love this game. I played this game a lot. I guess it kind of made you appreciate the games that you typed in more. I mean, after you spent, 4 or 5 or 6 hours or whatever it took you to type in all the code, and then if you made any mistakes and you had to go and correct it, it really made you appreciate the games that you typed in. You had to work for them. It's not like today where you can just go on the internet and get 1,000 games for free. No, I mean, there was no free games unless somebody, gave them to you back in the 80s. You either had to go buy them and spend a lot of money on them, or you had to type them in out of a computer book for the Commodore or a magazine or something like that. How you going, Captain Killa? But this was one of my favorite games. Now look at this, guys. If we hit the fire button and we come up, I want to show you guys how fast the Commodore 64 could go in a simple game like this. So if we go up to the maximum speed and hit the fire button, I think it's loading. There we go. Look at this. Now this is emulating the same thing that the Commodore 64 did. That is crazy fast. How are you ever going to hit just the red ball with the balls bouncing around that fast? That's insane. I hit all of them. I turned all the balls with one shot. I turned all of them white. Yeah, I don't know how anybody ever played a game at this speed. But that shows you, how fast even a Commodore 64 from 31 years ago could make things move this fast. Now, obviously, to be able to move these sprites around this fast, this game could not be programmed in like the basic that came with the Commodore 64. It had to be programmed in like machine language, what they call it. So pretty much the same thing as like C++ on Windows today. It had to be programmed in a language that the computer understood without having to try to convert BASIC to its own language. So this was definitely a game programmed in machine language. So now what I want to do, guys, is I want to go ahead and show you the next game. And let's go ahead and unpack it. And let's go ahead and move this down here. We are going to come back to our computer here. Now that's the background. Is it right here? Yes. But if you lose it, let's say you lose the window, you simply just come back to your computer, go to downloads, and after you download the next game, which is Crossroads 2, Now, I think this next game was my absolute favorite typed-in game. It came out, I know, in December of 1988, so I remember I got the magazine, I think, sometime around, right around Thanksgiving, I believe. It came in November or something. And I couldn't believe it. I had played Crossroads, a really fun game, and then they had, whoever programmed Crossroads, made Crossroads 2. And I read the article, I remember basically drooling with excitement, but it was so long. I mean, it took me forever to type in, I think. It was a really long game to type in. So you're going to go ahead and look for, after you download it from the link down below, you're going to have your ROM here. Double click it. Again, go ahead and extract it to whatever, folder you want to. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it in my downloads folder. I'm going to hit OK. I can close this window. And now I can actually just minimize this or close this window. And we're going to go up and download my absolute favorite game that I ever typed in like 8 years of typing in these games back in the 80s. And this was Crossroads 2. Now, keep in mind, we didn't have, the Commodore 64 didn't have all these Call of Duty type games and stuff like that, we have today. But this was one of the absolute best games, free games that you could get out of the magazine. I mean, I don't know of any other game. I typed in probably hundreds of games with my Commodore 64 all the years that I had this kit. I mean, I seriously typed in hundreds, maybe even over 1,000 games. And this by far was my favorite game. And you would basically go ahead, you could play 2 players as well, which made it pretty interesting too. So you could go in, and you start down at the bottom left if you're player 1, if you're playing by yourself. The other guy would start in the opposite corner. Now, the cool thing about this game is that you start here, and it had mazes. It also came with a maze editor, so you could make up your own mazes and stuff like that, and levels, and put whatever monsters you wanted in there. Now, the cool thing that was mind-blowing for its time in a game like this, especially a game that you could type in out of a magazine, was the fact that all these creatures, it had 16 different types of creatures that would spawn, and eventually as you progress through the levels, they would get harder and harder monsters would spawn and stuff like that at different levels. But all 16 different creatures had their own AI and their own unique personality. So they would get along. As you can see down here, these 2 lions or whatever they are talking to each other. They're sitting there and they're not hurting each other. And what you had to do in this game is collect these. I think you had to collect 5 white spars, is it called, these little spinning stars. And you collect those, you would move on to the next level. Now, some of these creatures were friendly with other species, and some of them they hated. So each one had its own enemies and alliances. As you can see, the only creature that's safe for you to mingle with is this dog. The dog liked you, and we're going to go ahead and fire these guys before they come kill me. And I'm going to go ahead and show you kind of how the gameplay works. But this game was so much fun. I don't even know how many hours I spent playing this thing. It's a little bit different playing it with a keyboard, but it definitely can be done. And this isn't even sprites. I mean, basically, to make the graphics in this game, they customize the regular character set to make different shapes or whatever. So this is like what they call the character set graphics or something. You got to be careful here because the bullets will loop around and hit you in the back just like it just did right there. You can kill yourself in a hurry in this game if you're in a wraparound line. But I'm telling you what, you guys could download this game in less than a minute. You could be playing this game with the links that I provide. Download the emulator, download this game, and I think that you guys will see that even a game like this, 30 years later, can be a hell of a lot of fun. And what's cool is these creatures will eat these spars as well. Now, the white ones, the ones you got to try to get. The white ones are the ones you got to try to get out of the level. But there's also like blue ones which speed you up if you get it, and there's red ones which will make you fire faster. So the thing is these different creatures though will go for the spars, and if they eat one, they become stronger. I think if they ate a white one, they would get a higher defense. If they ate a blue one, they would get faster as well. And if they got a red one, I think their attack would get stronger, just like you. And Compute Gazette, yeah, love that magazine. Moontail, we'll catch up on the chat. Moontail says, "I'll make you a comic, Zax." That looks like fun. What's up, Moon? That noise is annoying. Yeah, this game, you could play this game, Moontel. I mean, the links are right down in the description. Damn, Zach's back at it again with a high score attempt. Yeah, with a high score attempt on that game. This is not Pac-Man. This game is, I actually think this game is more fun than Pac-Man. I mean, I had Pac-Man on my Commodore 64, and I might have played, I don't know, I probably played it quite a bit, but I guarantee you, I played this game here, Crossroads 2 on the Commodore 64, way more than I ever played Pac-Man. I had more fun with it, but not only did it come with all these custom, maps and stuff like that, but it had a map editor, and you could design your own mazes as well. Keep in mind, guys, that we didn't have internet and stuff like that back in the 80s with the Commodore. Everything we got, we either had to buy or we typed in out of a magazine. You coded yourself, Moontail says, Zach, I'll make you a comic, and also did you figure out how to... Yeah, I got the intro up on my channel, Moontail. Yeah, it's not Pac-Man. This is Crossroads 2. And the game I typed in as a kid on my Commodore 64 about 30 years ago. See. You've played this game before, Nunya? Have you? Damn. That's impressive, dude, for a guy your age playing a game like this. I'm going to bed. Wanted to check on you. Get up early in the morning. Hey, good night, Ant-Man. Thanks for joining, man. Told you it was Crossroads 2. Yes, this is Crossroads 2, and you go ahead and hit F7. And it should take you up. You got to make sure you're clicked on your emulator. Now I got some spars available to me right now. Yeah, but I guarantee you anybody that had a Commodore 64 back in the 80s, especially if they were subscribed to Compute Magazine, which was a popular magazine back then, anybody that had a Commodore 64 that knew anything definitely knew about this game and probably loved it. Another thing that was cool is, I mean, if you have a Commodore 64, I could have, like my friends or whatever, I had a friend that hated typing in magazines. But the cool thing is, I mean, there was no copy protection or anything like that, especially on a typed-in game. So, while you didn't have the internet, you couldn't share files like that. I mean, I could simply take my disc, after I typed this game in or whatever, pretty much all the games that I typed in, I would take over to my buddy's house, and he'd be like, so what'd you type in? Did you type in this game or that game? Because he got the magazine too. I know he had a subscription to the Compute magazines, the same ones I got, but he was just too lazy to type all that shit in. And I would always take a disc over there, after I typed in whatever games I wanted or whatever games I thought he'd like. Sometimes they were two-player games, and we'd go have fun. Now, see, I killed that thing, and he dropped the spars. And they'll drop spars, whatever spars they've eaten, they'll drop randomly anywhere in the maze. But I would take my disc over there, and I'd just take a disc over there, and he would download it onto his, we'd download it on the computer, and then he would save it on his own disc, and then he would have the game. So he definitely benefited from me from all the hundreds of hours I spent programming all this crap in. I would just take it over there. Now, I believe Compute Magazine did have a deal where you could buy a disc with all the typed-in games from them, and you could have it sent, the disc sent with a magazine or whatever if you had a subscription. But I don't remember. I think a subscription back then to the Computer Magazine was maybe $12 a year or something. It was real cheap. But if you had, if you wanted all the discs with all the games and programs on the disc sent to you, I think it was like $50-$60 a year or something, which was a crazy amount of money back in the 80s. Nobody wanted to spend that kind of money. I mean, I think these magazines were only like $2, $1.95 or something like that, a magazine. But that was way back in the day. But see how that red one and that blue monster right above me are getting along. So these guys are friendly towards each other. And pretty much everything hates you except for the dog. Help! Got him right in the nick of time. But as they get more powerful, it gets a lot more challenging. And you got to be really careful too, because if any of these things eat a bunch of spars, they can definitely get really dangerous. See, that one's probably eating a spar. I don't know. But I'm having fun playing this game right now just with a keyboard. And I'm sure you could program this if you look through the emulator settings. I'm sure you could program it to work with a controller or whatever you want to use. Ah, I got it. I got it before you. Now, if you get 2 players playing this game, it's a lot of fun as well. Because you're both competing for to stay alive, and you're competing for the spars and stuff like that. And you can shoot each other. There's a red spar. Now watch what happens when I get that. Oh, I think I'll carry it over to the next level. Let's take a look. Yeah, see? See how much faster I'm shooting now? Pretty awesome. You gotta be really careful when you have this high firepower when you shoot in a wrapped area like this. Come on, come up for that spar, buddy. My spar, you bastards. Oh, crap. Oh, I just almost killed myself. That's what I'm talking about. When you have the higher fire rate, you shoot in a wrapped area. One thing you could do is you could leave a big trapped area for a monster to walk into, like that monster just did on the left. There's still a bullet wrapping around. But this game is hella fun. Oh, a freaking archer just shot me up through there. $3 a month plus 1 for the disc edition. I don't think it was that cheap, Kage. I remember it being a lot more expensive than that. Maybe you're right, I don't know. I just know it was a lot more expensive to get the discs. I typed in all the games myself. But I do think it made me appreciate... Oops, I think it made me appreciate the games a lot more when I typed them in, rather than just getting them for free. Because, I mean, I had to work for these games. Now I can move faster. Hell yeah. Did you ever play this game, Kage? Oh, the archer shot him. And he had a couple of spars there. Wow, that guy had a couple of spars too. I should be able to... It was a little bit easier with a joystick. Especially when you're moving at double speed here. My dad was a dick and secured the discs and made me type them in. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was like 50 or 60 bucks a month for the disc every month, yeah. Which, like I say, it doesn't sound like a lot today, but $50 a year back in the 80s was a fortune, you know? It was a lot of money back then. And I know my parents didn't have the money. I was lucky to get my mom to buy me the $2 magazines or whatever, you know, or pay $12 for the year for the subscription, or I think it was like 12 bucks a year, you know? And a lot of times, I know my parents couldn't afford the $12 a year subscription, even though they know I loved my computer and I loved Compute Magazine and Compute Gazette magazine. You know, a lot of times they couldn't afford a $12 subscription, so they would, you know, go month to month, and I'd go to the store with my mom and put the magazine off the shelf into her basket, and you know, $1.95 or whatever it was. It cost her a lot more than 12 bucks. It cost her 25 bucks a year to buy them in the store, but you know. My parents were... Whoa, that thing was moving super fast. Damn. But now this is the level you gotta watch out for. Those freaking white skulls, those things are freaking dangerous. I remember that. Especially when they eat a spar. And that one just right above me just ate a spar. Those things eat a couple of spars like that one just did. They become pretty good. And then, in another level or two, you end up coming across what they called rubber heads or something like that. They're purple. And you got to shoot them while they're coming at you. If you shoot them in the back, your bullets will bounce right off the back of their head and bounce back at you. Pretty cool. And then, of course, you got all the archers, and you got the different creatures that shoot and stuff. But this was the first game I think I ever saw where AI creatures of any kind had, you know, relationships with different characters, and you would see creatures fighting each other and stuff. And this was, I mean, this was like high-tech shit, especially for a type-in game. Yeah, this was high-tech shit when they had a type-in game where characters actually had personalities and relationships with different species, and would get along with some and be enemies of the other. And I'd never seen anything like that. But let's see. He took away. Then he'd look away. My shit worked, and then check the disc. Aw, Zax, I'm wearing the biggest grin. I just saw the 2 videos that you uploaded with my art. Oh, that's awesome, Ava. Any difference? And he formatted my disk and he made me start again. What, Kage? Wow, that's messed up, dude. But yeah, this is one of my favorite games. Definitely check it out. The cool thing is you can play 2 players, and you could, edit your own maps and stuff like that, which was also something that was really unique back in those days, to be able to customize your own maps and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at another one of, I really love this game too, the Worm of Beemer. Let's go ahead and download it, and it's down in the link below if you guys want to download it, in the description below rather. And let's see here. So you're going to go ahead and look for probably Worm of Beemer. Yes, under W. Go ahead and again double click it. Make sure you have WinRAR or something like that to unpack these. Go ahead and just extract it wherever you want. You can close that window. You can minimize that window. Now that we have it unpacked, we're going to go ahead and go to File, Auto Start. We're going to go up. We're going to look for Worm of Beemer. And this was another Compute Magazine game. And again, joystick number 2. Like I said, most games, for whatever reason, ran on the Commodore 64 in joystick number 2. So this was your classic Worm game. But back for the 80s in its time, this one was really, really clever. And the reason why it was so good was simply because rather than just being a long snake in a Slither or whatever, granted, while Slither is online or whatever, this one you start off small, you eat these mushrooms, and it'll tell you up at the top how many mushrooms you have left. So look how much longer you grow from just one mushroom. And I guarantee you guys, if you guys like worm games or snake games, you guys will have fun with this game. This game's a ton of fun. And I can't remember how many rooms there is, like 14 or 12 or 16 or something like that. Somewhere in the teens, I think. But if you can get all the way through all the rooms, you will win and to beat the game. This is just a 1-player game. So I got to get 2 more mushrooms, and look how long I'm starting to get. And then once you get all 5 mushrooms, you'll have 4 doors open up, and you can exit any way you want. You just really got to get out of the room. There's no difference between getting out on the left side or the right side or up and down. You just got to exit without crashing. And I have 4 lives here. You start getting really, really long. And then you just got to time it right. And I timed it wrong there and ran into the wall. Now I'm just going to let myself go straight so I can get out of the room. And you will go to the next room. Now we have a wall right there in the center. Makes things a little bit more difficult. Oops, missed it. I got to eat my 5 mushrooms again to get out. And there we go. Got a mushroom over here right by the wall. Alright, Moontail, see you later, hon. Thank you for making the video for me. That was awesome. What, Kage? I made the smallest error. You had to type in the entire thing again. Yeah, I remember that, dude. If you didn't have to type it all in again because it crashed and you didn't save your data or whatever, you'd had to check it all over again. Like if it was written in BASIC or whatever, you would have to go back and double check it. It was really nice when Compute Magazine later on made their machine language editor and or like the automatic proofreader or whatever they called it, and it would give you a code, and if the code didn't match up, you would look at the code at the end of the line in the magazine. If the code didn't match up whatever you were entering in the using the proofreader while you typed, then you knew that you probably had an error. So then you would go and just check that one line rather than go and have back and have to check every single line in the whole program, which could be hundreds of lines long. So the automatic proofreader that they made things a lot easier. And then that machine language editor was really easy to enter the codes because it would tell you if you made a typo each line, it wouldn't let it enter that line. But this game I'm in room 3 now. And again, it's just the same thing. It just gets continually harder because there's more walls in your rooms that you have to avoid. And that's basically the Worm of Beemer or Beemer or whatever. Great worm game for its time, especially a type-in game. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the next game. Now, this was a fun game that I had. I don't believe this was a type-in magazine. I don't know if it was a typed-in from a book or whatever. All I know is I got the game from a friend, a different friend at school or whatever. I believe it was, I don't know if you paid money for it or whatever, but a lot of people had this game, and it didn't really have any copy protection on it or anything like that. So that's what made me think it was probably a type-in game. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and jump on Motor Mania. And Motor Mania was a lot of fun as well. Let's go ahead and go ahead and go back to our... And again, you guys can download these packed... Come on. Thank you. No, whatever. Thank you. So go to downloads and Motor Mania. We're going to go ahead and unpack that. Extract it. Real easy. Just a couple of clicks, guys. And I mean, a couple of clicks, you guys could have the simulator in all these games. So now we're simply going to go and auto start. And you're lucky because with the simulator, you don't have to restart the computer. I mean, with the Commodore, you had to turn the computer off and then turn it back on again to do this kind of stuff, especially with like machine language games. Ass presents Motor Mania. Press C to cheat. Okay, so you guys even have a cheat built into this game. All right. All right. I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to go ahead and try to play it right. So you move your car here. Of course, you move up to speed up. You can see your miles per hour there. You have to get fuel. And you just basically got to avoid obstacles and go as far as you can, or score as many points as you can before crashing. And yeah, I love this game as well. I loved a lot of these real simple games like this on the Commodore 64. So if any of you guys are, you know, have ever wondered why it is that I like games like Catch a Falling Star, or why I tend to like these simple games, these simple, you know, asteroid type shooter games, and all these little games that I like so much that are like real small indie games, you guys are, you know, some of you probably wondered, man, why does Zaxter like all these like stupid little simple games on Steam that are $2-3 or whatever, and play them for endless hours? Well, it probably comes from me being, you know, back in my childhood having a Commodore 64, when most of my games were the type-in games out of the magazines that I typed in. Most of the games that I enjoyed the most, that I played the most. Like I said, even though I had Pac-Man, I played Crossroads 2 far more than I ever played Pac-Man. Go ahead and speed up here. But this is Motor Mania. And these cars, I remember they'll like try to wreck you sometimes. See, that one tried to wreck me. Little bastard. And then the road gets narrower and stuff like that as well. Oh, I didn't hear the ambulance. I don't got my volume turned up enough. But you would have to listen for the ambulances and stuff like that. And you have rocks, of course. You have all kinds of stuff. You have oil slicks and... You know, and I know this isn't near as impressive as, like, you know, Dirt 3 or Dirt, you know, whatever, or Gran Turismo, or all the racing games we have today. But for what they are, they're pretty fun. And I think it takes, you know, I don't know what it takes to enjoy a game like this, but I don't know if it just takes living back in the 80s and playing these games as a kid, like me, or... You know, I think younger people could appreciate games like this. My son, I had a Commodore 64 a while back. Oops, I smashed. I'd bought a Commodore 64 off Craigslist, or no, I bought it off eBay or something, and I found it real cheap on eBay or whatever, and I bought a Commodore 64, and it wasn't working exactly right, but I fixed it up. I was able to fix it and get it working. I think it needed a new power supply or something. And my son actually really enjoyed a lot of the games on the Commodore 64. I was expecting him to like think it was pretty dumb, but this was back when he was like, you know, he was a big PS3 guy and loved the Call of Duties and stuff like that. I was expecting him to not really appreciate the Commodore 64 games, but he really enjoyed a lot of these games. He thought they were really fun. And yeah, but that is Motor Mania, guys. And if this video gets a lot of views, if you guys, comment on this video a lot, I'm going to leave the video up. If I get a lot of response and requests and stuff like that, I'll definitely show you guys some more of the games that I enjoyed playing on the Commodore 64. There was a ton of games that I really enjoyed and spent a lot of time with. So I'll make another video maybe showcasing some more games that I really enjoyed. But this is just 4 of the games that I really remember liking a lot. Crossroads 2, I think, was by far one of my favorite games on the Commodore that I remember anyhow. I know there was others, and Worm of Beemer, I love that one as well. I loved all these games that I showed you tonight. So that is the Commodore 64, guys. And I don't know if the demo's running now, or probably is the demo, probably the computer playing. Because I didn't hit the space bar, the fire button. If that's the computer playing, he's going to crash. Not all that fun on the device. Yeah, I haven't ran enough of the. This is the only Commodore 64 emulator I've ever tried out, Kage. So, time to watch Zach's crash into the scenery. You know what I did with this game after the disc was finalized that year? I have no idea, Kage. What did you do, man? And let me look here real quick for something. I want to show you guys something. Why I remember this game from the school year too. Let me check this out. Commodore 64 Lemonade ROM. Let's see. Lemonade stand. There we go. Yep. That's it. I'll see how you can get the ROM there. I might have missed it, but let's take a look. I don't know if you ever played this game, Kage. Lemonade. Here. See if this is the same one I remember. Let's go ahead and go back into our downloads here. Open up our emulator. And then let's go ahead and go back. See if we can find this lemonade thing. Correct. Okay. Bam. Bam. Yeah. I think this is it. So 1986, 30 years ago, this was a Lemonade game that I played on the Commodore 64 at our school, because our school had computers as well. And I love this game as well. This was simply, a game where you sell lemonade or whatever. And this is what inspired me to, Zach, you're going to prepare lemonade. You got 12 weeks. Your parents agreed to give you $12, good start for the summer. you'll have to pay back the $12 at the end of the summer. So here you have your Zaxx's lemonade, and you can a 5-kilogram package of sugar costs $1.14. How many do you want to buy? And it says right there the temperature is forecast in the 80s or 30s Celsius. Prediction for Saturday. So I can go ahead and set how many do I want to buy of sugar. I got to buy 3, whatever. And a 1-liter bottle of lemonade concentrate costs $1.01. How many do you want to buy? 4. I don't know. 100 paper cup costs $1.20. I'll buy 2, and I have $2.14. Price in for a cup of price lemonade in cents. I don't know. I have no idea. So the temperature is actually 88 degrees, and I'm actually selling lemonade now and making money. And this is what inspired me to make Lemon-Maze a couple of years ago. It was this game right here.
Welcome to Lemon-Maze Games.
So you made 120 cells with 20 cents. You grossed $24. So I know that this is an old school game and just a text game and stuff like that, but I had a lot of fun with this game, and that's exactly why I programmed, this game here. And I think my game is a hell of a lot better than what people had back there with just this. It just told you a price of one thing and sugar, all like that. Here you can go shopping at different stores. You can change your recipe, which you couldn't do back in the good old days. You do have, while the graphics are pretty simple, you have simple graphics. You have a timer. You got to pretty kind of rush things. And here you don't have any of that. You can take your time all day long or whatever. I guess this one has simple graphics as well. But I'm just saying, if you're wondering why I've made like a lemonade game, a selling game like that, what originally inspired me was my love for playing a game like Lemonade back in the 80s as a kid. So, and I have a whole video on my Lemon-Maze. So, you guys can check that out. I think I made it about a week ago. What are you saying, Nunya? Catch up on the chat here. On device. I did with that game after the disc was finalized that year. I added fire button functionality and added additional scoring possibilities. Crossroads loaned me the code for it. Oh, nice. So you took code from Crossroads and added on to Motor Mania with it, huh? That's cool. I am glad we have the emulator so we can relive our past with the games we played as young kids and adults, that's for sure. Well, I'm out, Zax. Talk to you later. See you, Nunya, bud. Uncle Crocus Squirrel has a present for all the lads and classes. Compute Magazine Archive. Yeah, I think I found one of those websites that has all the magazines from Compute and Compute Gazette and stuff like that. I was looking through that. And just all you got to really do is like Google Compute Gazette PDF or something like that, and you'll find the sites. There's several of them. I like the Dizzy Games kind of graphics adventures, but more action-based than any of the Secret Monkey Island, etc., which I also love. Same price. Yeah. And then Nightbot keeps talking as well. But that is about an hour, guys. I didn't really want to run this too long. I'm going to go ahead and get ready, figure out what game I'm going to be streaming here in about 30 minutes for my regular live stream. But I wanted to go ahead and make a video here, show people how easy it is to play the games like from the Commodore 64. I know there's a lot of people out there that had Commodore 64s and might have had a game or two that they loved. And even, the big games, the Epic games and stuff like that. Remember how big Epix was, EPYX or whatever. Even those games and stuff like that are really easy and free to download as an on the emulators and play any of those games that you really like. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. And I want to go ahead and thank you guys for watching this live stream. And again, I'll be back in about a half hour, guys, with my regular nightly live stream under the moonshine. So see you guys here soon. Thanks for watching. If you're watching a recording of this video, be sure you comment down below. Be sure you rate my video. This has been Zaxxer99. We'll see you in the next video, everybody. Take care.